Welcome to this Power of Connections video. We asked educators and school personnel to reflect on how the power of connections enhance positive outcomes in students who have experienced trauma. When discussing student situations, pseudonyms are used to protect confidentiality. First, what were important activities you did to enhance connection?
I always like doing check-ins with my students, and check-ins in my classroom was in the morning, after lunch, and before we dismissed for the day. John did not like doing check-ins. He would always scribble in black and with his pencil in black, really, really dark. And I said, I can do something with this. And I kind of played around with it. And one day I said, John, in your words, how would you describe the weather? Like, how are you doing? What's the weather in your life right now? And John put rain. It was a cloud and it was rain. And the rain, it was really dark marks. And I said, from then on out, this is how your check-in is going to be. You just go ahead and tell me the weather. You don't even have to say it. You can just do it. I would give him a sticky note. And some days we got the sun. Some days we got cloud, and a lot of days we had thunderstorms. And right then I knew that was a small breakthrough to just see how John was feeling that day. And with that, I could move forward. I could give him a break. I could give him a pause. I could offer a hug if it was a cloudy day. And that just gave me a gateway to lead into a positive relationship with him.
So immediately, Miss Carr and Shauna began forming this relationship. And pretty quickly, within a few weeks, you could see that there was a lot of trust that formed between the two of them. And we know that kids who've experienced trauma may take longer in building trust with adults in their life. And so Miss Carr and Shauna formed this relationship, and the school leaders noticed this. And so they decided to develop this plan of action for Shauna, in which she was given the opportunity to request breaks during class if she needed to cool down, if she was getting upset or she was struggling, feeling overwhelmed. She could request a break and go to Miss Carr's classroom.
In this particular situation with this student, it was really simple. Like we connected over me teaching him some social skills with learning a game. It was one of those things that he picked up really quickly, and he ended up being really super good at the game. But it allowed us the opportunity to really talk and kind of find out information about what was going on with this family.
The principal would come to that room, but what would happen afterwards was different than what it used to be. So when the principal would come to the room, the principal would stay in that classroom, and it would give that a teacher and the student an opportunity to go to the mindfulness room. They could go to that reset room together. And this was such a huge difference from how we had done things in the past, because you were allowing a space where the teacher could de-escalate, the student could de-escalate, and it made that relationship stronger.
And I would just go by and greet her by name and leave a little post-it note about something that I noticed about her that was positive. And it seemed really simple, but it was something that we learned with that connection and that consistent connection. And I just thought, let's try this.
I introduced him to my office. He felt comfortable in here, so he would come in here a lot. And he would meet other students in here too. So sometimes they'd come hang out in my office before school started. So it wasn't like during a session with a student where they would just kind of hang out. And then he started meeting other students, and then they would share stories with him of what they're going through. So he was able to learn that he wasn't the only one going through trauma.
Oftentimes we hear that students are attention seeking. And there was a keynote that I attended that spoke on connection seeking. And when I thought about this particular student, it was really a connection that he was seeking. So some important activities that we did, every time that we had a misbehavior, we were still held accountable, because as we know, trauma is not an excuse, but an explanation for behavior. So after we would discuss, I would assure him that no matter good choice, not so good choice, I'm going to be here either way.
First thing we put in place was check-in, check-outs. And for that to be successful, the individual who is the mentor needs to be someone who's consistently in the building to work with the student at least 5 minutes at the beginning of the day, 5 minutes at the end of the day. And I was lucky enough to be that person for this student. So each morning he would come to my office. We would look at his behavior goals, which were anchored in our school-wide behavior expectations, talk about anything that happened the day before that we might need to work through today, and strategies he could use to navigate the day ahead. In particular, on days when he had a certain class for his specials, he struggled. And so on those days, we spent a little more time going through strategies to navigate what he found to be a difficult situation.
Safety and a sense of belonging has to be established from day one with all my children in the classroom before I can ever do anything else. I think it's important to remember that they're not just our students, they are people. They need to know it's okay to have a bad day. Kids come into our classroom every day, they're sleep deprived, hungry, sick, they're depressed, anxiety. And before I can teach them about algebraic expressions, I have to fulfill their basic needs first.
So in order to start building that relationship and connecting with the student, I knew I had to play on her strengths. I knew that she was great with her hands. I knew she loved hands-on activities. I knew she loved the non-traditional learning way. So some of the things that I remember specifically doing was sitting in our conference room once I finally got her into the building, sitting in our conference room and building McDonald's Happy Meals out of Play-Doh. We colored for hours. We did all types of things that were not reading, writing, and arithmetic per se, but it was things where while she was moving her hands and while she was doing things that she enjoyed, I could talk to her and I could build that relationship and I could get down to the reason why she hated school so much, the reason why she hated coming into the building.
What outcomes did you notice from these connections?
When I think about all the different strategies in our district we've implemented, this one may seem the most simple, but the reality of the consistency and the connection really helped this young lady see the world in a brighter way. And so then she was able to do some therapy and then trust others in our school and trust others coming into our school, and really started to open up. One of the coolest moments for me was I was just doing the intervention, but had not really met this young lady's family personally or her grandparents. And it was, I would say, was the next fall. Her grandmother came in to school for an event and she caught me, was like, I just want to tell you something. And I was like, okay. And she showed me a picture on her phone. And this young lady had kept every single one of the Post-it notes that we had given her every single day. And so that was just so affirming to me that just building connection with kids and being consistent and pointing out who they are can be so impactful for our students.
And he went from, he repeated kindergarten twice. And then once he got into first and second grade, he just really started pushing hard and really working hard. And now he is well above average with his peers.
Another one is he has built relationships with teachers. So I think where he started trusting me, because he does not trust females, and he is starting to trust females and seeing how we communicate with teachers and how the teachers want to help the students be successful and listen to, because we're a trauma-informed school. And so the teachers understand that and they want to hear what the students need to help them. And because of that communication, he has now stayed after school with teachers to do work. He, some of the teachers now are teaching him another language. He has one teacher that's teaching him how to write in Arabic. So his relationships with teachers have changed. I just love it. And the student is using coping skills in the classroom now. So before, when he got mad, he would just walk out of class. Like there was nothing. He wouldn't tell anybody. Walk out, come straight to my office. And so now, by building that relationship and talking about those coping skills, he's able to stay in class. I even made him the special pass that he could leave the class to take a break. Like he would just have to show the pass and he could leave. There would be no communication with the teacher. And he just told me the other day, he goes, I have not used my pass in like 3 days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Because now he's able to self-regulate in the classroom. So that was really a big outcome.
Because in this case, it was a student who was used to adults not being able to handle them, being passed around from adult to adult. And being trauma informed allowed us in that environment to say, I'm here with you. Like I'm still here with you, even through behavior, that's not appropriate. And that was one of the biggest differences that we saw, was that the relationship was stronger and closer. And we know from being trauma informed that it is that one consistent positive relationship that can change what trauma has done to a student.
I'm happy to report that the student that I had these conversations with time and time again and remained consistent, he got to a place where he is now actively self-regulating. He's actively self-advocating and telling people what he needs before a behavior happens.
I became that person for John. Again, everyone needs a person that sees their student, a person that hears their student. Everyone needs a person that calls their name, that knows that they have a gift, right? And so for John, I knew he was interested in technology. I knew that. And we had a technology club in our school. So as his person, a trusted adult, I said, come on, John, I want to show you something. And we just watched. The first 2 times, we just watched and saw what the students were doing. And I could see curiosity kicking in. And so John became a part of the technology club. And so again, all of our students have gifts. We just have to provide that patience, that empathy, and that grace to find out what it is and get them involved with that if we are able to.
By the end of his 5th grade year, the students had a writing assignment where they had to write a letter to someone who had influenced them and helped them to be successful. This student, who had struggled in language arts at the beginning of his 5th grade year, wrote the most beautiful 2 letters. He went above and beyond, one to his 5th grade teacher and one to me. And in summary, I will always keep this letter, but the letter just said, you always believed in me, you always supported me and encouraged me. And because of that, I wanted to do well. And because of that, I don't want to leave this school, but I know I'm ready for middle school.
I will say what I began to notice, what her teachers began to notice, what her guardians began to notice was a little hope. She was able to come to school and the fight just got a little bit easier and a little bit shorter every morning. And we started to finally find things in the school building when it came to academics and it came to just learning and peer relationships. We finally got to tap into those things that she truly needed to get out of coming to school. So we did watch her academics increase. We watched her relationships with other peers increase, because for a while there, I just thought it was just her and me. We were going to be best friends for her entire elementary school career, but we were able to branch out, and her social skills improved, and she didn't need me as much, but of course that's the goal. So just to be able to catch up with her later and see that not only did she thrive in elementary school, but she was able to continue that success so much that she was able to graduate high school early. So it's just a great wrap up to that relationship.
This young man began to make up credits. He began to hang out with friends, the right friends, started passing drug tests, and because of his involvement with the community partner and their intensive drug intervention program, all of the connections he had with adults at school, and then the ability for me to connect him to our department of mental health support, as well as behavior support, family engagement, those things. He will be starting, I'm really excited about this, a group at his high school called Active Minds. It's a mental health group where they actually encourage mental health supports and resources to be involved in their school and try to assist in breaking the stigma.
I think all these students can thrive in these situations, and they thrive in our classroom when these connections are made, because if the connections are not there and the relationships are not there, there is no way I can do my job and actually teach them.
The need to belong and feel connected is a driving force for our kids. Although Shauna still struggled in many ways, it was clear that she became more connected to Miss Carr. She became more connected to the school. And research tells us that this connectedness, it improves health outcomes, it improves educational outcomes. And interestingly, with the break system, Shauna was actually in class more often than when she was in class without the break system, in which situations would escalate. She would be sent to the office. She might get in-school suspension or even out-of-school suspension. So her time, instructional time in class, increased with the break system. And so I just think that's one really great way to see the work that's been done around trauma-informed practices and all the work across the state to help people understand what drives challenging behaviors and how we can change the way we respond.